Our company is really education-based, systems-based, service-based, and we serve brunch food, brunch experience from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Morgan Schnabl. She's the founder and CEO at the Brunch It Up brand. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Morgan, why don't you start? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am the founder and CEO of the brunch restaurant brand, Brunch It Up. And we are actively growing our brand from a small local restaurant to what I hope to be an international franchise. So we are on the journey of a lifetime here, and it's so fun. And I'm really working to teach people along the way and coach them, because what I've learned throughout all of this is you are never ready and you just have to jump in and start. I started the restaurant in 2016, so we're going to be 7 this year. And it feels like it's been a lifetime. At the same time, sometimes I think 7 years isn't old enough to be doing what we're doing. So we're actively building our first franchise location right now, which should be opening very soon. And then we'll start working on our next and our next. Our goal is 100 franchises in the next 10 years. So we are actively working towards that. Our company is really education-based, systems-based, service-based, and we serve brunch food, brunch experience from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. And that's really who we are, what we do. And we're excited to keep growing and expanding that brand.
Yeah, and congratulations, you just opened your 3rd location, right?
Yeah, yep, this is number 3.
That's fantastic. That's great. So, talking about the Brunch It Up brand, what really differentiates, you're talking about growing, scaling, what differentiates the Brunch It Up brand from other, brunch spots, restaurants, things like that?
So we are very focused on the experience and making sure that the people who come there remember their time there. And that was always something in the beginning that was really scary for me, because I had to figure out how to duplicate an experience, right? Other restaurants, it may be the food or, a certain dish. And for us, yes, our food is so good and that has become duplicatable. But the interesting part has been duplicating the amazing culture that we have, because since we started, that's always been our big focus. And that's been what we've really been known for, is our friendly service, our really memorable experience that people have when they're at brunch, because there's so many different reasons to go to brunch. And it could be anywhere from, a bachelorette party brunch to family after church to coming from a funeral. It could be so many different reasons why somebody would come and have brunch. And it's really our job to make sure that that experience is one that they'll remember and want to continue having. And by expanding, we're able to really give that experience all over, hopefully, the world. But right now, Wisconsin, which is really exciting.
I love that. I love that. And I think you raise a really great point that people will always remember how you make them feel. So creating that experience, that fun, welcoming, building your brand, is so important.
Definitely. Yeah. And really being able to tell our story and make sure that, people know why they're there, what they love about it. And that's been something we've been really having a lot of fun with, is being able to tell that story as we continue to grow.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds too like, you mentioned kind of bigger events too, but it also, is also a spot that you can, go on a Friday morning too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We get to see everybody, right? So we see, couples having a date day in the middle of the day, or celebrating their anniversary, or, meeting in between work when they can, which is so great. There's so many different reasons. There's, before a big event or convention, breakfast meeting of, people, who are there just specifically for a convention or for work. So we see a lot of local people. In our downtown Milwaukee location, we see a lot of travelers because we're in a bigger city. So we get to really experience everybody, which is really neat.
I love that. And a quick aside, what's your favorite thing on the menu?
So one of my if you ask my staff when I walk in, they're like, we know what you want. I love our BLT. I think it is so good. It has a runny egg on it. So if you like over
Ooh.
medium eggs, it's delicious. Our Benedicts though are so amazing. We have a chorizo biscuit and gravy Benedict, which will leave you extremely tired after, but it's so good.
That's fantastic. That's great. So, talking about entrepreneurship, you are the founder and the CEO. Talk to me what that growth has looked like for you.
Well, it has been a wild ride. I think all growth can be messy and a little crazy. And that's what's really important to me about sharing an entrepreneur experience is it's not what you think it looks like. It's not beautiful and glamorous. And a lot of times, and it's our own fault, people only see what we want them to see, which is that it's great and it's growing and things are wonderful. But the true experience of growth is really messy and there's a lot of lessons learned. Luckily, there are so many resources and books out there that I've read and continue to study to try and figure out how to avoid some of these mistakes. But a lot of it is, when I teach, it's yes, I can teach you everything in the world about how not to make this mistake or not to do this. But until something slaps you in the face, it doesn't really just doesn't sink in. So I've been slapped in the face quite a few times, but I'm blessed with the perspective to know that every piece of challenge that comes to us is a lesson and a lesson that, we plan to just learn once and then move on from it. So that's, that experience has been really interesting. And I've also learned that there is no moment when you feel like you're ready to start something. And everything I've done, even appointments I take now, I'm not ready for them, or I'm not ready to, build that next location. I literally have taken meetings without even having a franchisee in place just because I loved the location. And I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out. And I do. Yeah. So a lot of times there's nothing like a little bit of pressure to get you to get started. So I always recommend put some pressure under yourself, commit to something that you're not sure how you're going to do yet. And that's the only way things really get done. And no one really tells you that, there's not this moment where it's like, okay, you did all the steps. Now you're ready. No, we're never ready. And we don't know anything more than anybody else does. And I think they don't tell you that either, that, we're all just doing our best here and trying. And growth for us has been really, really, really fun because we've chosen to see it as fun. And yes, of course, there's hiccups along the way, but they're lessons. You learn them once, and then you continue to move on.
Yeah, perspective is so important, especially while you're growing, a business. So talking about, it sounds like what a common misconception is that it's a glamorous, that it's easy, starting your own company, your own brand. Is there another common misconception that you hear often about, the restaurant industry or anything like that as well?
I think the restaurant industry and all industries are more similar than people realize, because at the end of the day, it's a system. It's all a system. And if we can recognize what the patterns are and when this happens, this happens. When this doesn't happen, that means this. It's all patterns. And Tony Robbins talks a lot about patterns and recognizing patterns and then being able to create patterns. And that's really what we're doing here, is creating systems and processes. Every business can function on that model. And I've always joked, if I needed to start a dentist office tomorrow, I probably could figure it out, even though I'm not a dentist and I know nothing about that, just as an example, because starting a business is a very similar journey, no matter what you're doing, in my opinion. So I didn't come from the restaurant industry. And a lot of people ask me that, oh, were you a chef? No, I really love to cook. And then I realized having a restaurant has nothing to do with cooking. It has everything to do with cooking in that you have to cook food, but the way you cook food in a restaurant is not close to how you cook at home. You don't have everything perfectly chopped and ready for you and, prepped out so that you can just make it at home. Like a cooking show. Cooking in the restaurant is more like a cooking show where everything is prepped for you ahead of time. So the real magic happens before the guests arrive, not when they come in. So yes, of course, our servers are providing amazing experience for people, for the guests, but a lot of our kitchen, it only works if the prep and the systems were done before everyone got there.
Mhm.
And that's with everything. It's preparation for us. Like the moment we open the doors, that's game day, but practice and all the work had to happen
Mhm.
much before that.
Mhm, mhm. And people, I don't think people necessarily understand how much work goes on behind the curtain, not only in the restaurant, but I imagine too, in entrepreneurship as well.
Everywhere. Oh, it's all most of it is behind the curtain. Honestly, probably 90% is behind the curtain of, crying behind your computer and figuring out like, how am I going to do this? And that's but that's where the beauty is. And you have to learn to enjoy the ride because it all really is the ride. And you think that the moment you get there, wherever there is, you're going to be so happy, but then you get there and you just start working on the next thing anyway. So if you enjoy it, it's all fun. But yeah, there's so much that happens behind the scenes, and a lot of it is behind a desk, behind a computer, on phone calls. Making requests, asking for help. Finding the perfect whatever that resource is that you need. It is so much asking and figuring out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Morgan, if people wanted to go to learn more about brunch, maybe they're not in Wisconsin, where would they go to learn more about it?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, brunchitup.com. And if somebody's interested in learning about who we are, you can learn that from the website, or you can hit the franchise tab, fill out the form, and it goes directly to me. So you'd learn a little bit more about what it looks like to own your own brunch, which is the journey that we're on right now.
I love it. I love it. Well, Morgan, as we start to wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either about entrepreneurship, about the Brunch It Up brand, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I think just if you're considering doing something or something is really on your heart and you're thinking about it all the time, figure out a way to just do one little thing today that will get you closer to that. And sometimes it's just sending an email or getting connected with the right person. And that's really how it begins, is all the little things that we do every day are what make the big things. There's no really big thing. It's all little things. So I just always want to encourage people that if there's something on your heart, God probably put it there for a reason. And you just need to start doing one thing to get closer to that every day. And you will get there, because you don't eat an elephant in one day. You eat it by taking tiny bites. Not that anyone should eat an elephant, but that concept is something that sticks with me so much, because it's the little things that add up. So just to encourage people to get started.
Oh, that's a great way to end the show. This was fantastic, Morgan. I love that piece of advice. And it is so true. You don't eat an elephant all at once. You eat it one bite at a time. And, just like you're
Mhm.
talking about building a brand, it's been steps for you. And I appreciate, talking about your journey, talking about the Brunch It Up brand. And I can't wait to follow along your journey and watching you guys grow and scale.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was great to have you on Business Ninjas today.